Startup Street. I'm Arundhati Ramanan, and these are the top headlines from the startup world. Everbright Health, a services platform for mental health providers, raises $7 million in a seed round. The round was led by W Health Ventures and Sanos Capital. The funds will be used to expand its technology capabilities, accelerate market growth in the US, and introduce similar operational models for other advanced therapies. Prosus increases its stake in travel platform Ixigo to 15%, acquires the stake through an off-market transaction. Prosus bought a little over 5% stake from Peak 15 and Elevation. Coinbase backs CoinDCX with an undisclosed sum, an extension of an earlier round. The new funds will be used to support product development, new on-chain use cases, and expansion into international markets. Consumer raises $1.3 million from Aquarius Innovatex Fund to build the future of consumer research with AI. Round also saw participation by prominent angel investors. Funds will be allocated for technology development and market expansion, both domestically and globally. Chennai-based agri-tech startup Pregaria raises $2 million in a seed round led by WEH Ventures. Rain Matter and Spiral Ventures also participate. This capital will support Pregaria's fruits in providing year-round supply of high-quality, sustainable produce to the Indian market. Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. But on what's brewing today, India's semiconductor ambitions just got a major boost. Bengaluru-based Morphing Machines, a deep tech startup incubated at the Indian Institute of Science, has raised 38 crore rupees in a Series A round. The round was led by IAN Alpha Fund with participation from Speciale Invest, Ivy Cap Ventures, and Navam Capital. The company is building Redefine, a breakthrough many-core processor that promises to revolutionize computing for data centers and AI workloads, combining speed, flexibility, and energy efficiency. Joining me now to discuss its growth blueprint is Deepak Chapeti, the co-founder and CEO of Morphing Machines. Deepak, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. You know, Morphing Machines has just raised about 38 crore rupees in a Series A round. If you could sort of, before we get into the fundraise itself, what's the core technology that's drawn such strong investor confidence? If you could take us through what's on offer at the company.
Thank you, Arundhati, for having us, first of all. Happy to run you through what actually has not only driven investor confidence, but has sustained it over a period of time. What we are building, our core technology processor, Redefine, is very differentiated. And in a sense, it is reconfigurable, which allows us to target multiple domains, right from AI to 5G telecom to self-driving ADAS cars or data centers. Now, it is this kind of flexibility and the ability to create for the world from India in a deep tech area such as semiconductors is what has primarily, sustained investor confidence in our journey.
Sure. And, what will this Series A funding specifically go toward, right? There's chip fabrication, pilots. There's also scaling your team and your customers. So what's, on top of the agenda? How are you going to use the funds?
So the way we're using funds is not for an end-to-end journey, but primarily for the design and validation of our processor. What this allows us to do is prove that, hey, there's a clear product market fit. And further to that, it is far more easier to kind of, get customer orders and do business. But primarily, we typically handle the entire supply chain of semiconductors via partnering with, foundries for the fabrication, with partners for software. But overall, we will be using these funds for building our test chip and generating, customer orders thereafter.
Sure. And, the company also says it's building a many-core processor called Redefine, right? Could you kind of explain to us in layman terms, how exactly does this differ from traditional GPUs and CPUs?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, that's the biggest differentiator. Not only are we many core, just like a typical GPU or perhaps even CPU, right? CPUs also have multiple cores. Where we are differentiated is we can do workloads which are very good on CPU. We can do the workloads which work well on GPUs like AI, but we can also do some very complex high-performance compute workloads which are done on custom processors. It is this kind of flexibility which allows you to cater to the emerging workloads of tomorrow. So when you don't know what workloads are going to come tomorrow, how do you build a semiconductor or a processor for it? The timeline, and even if the workload changes, right? I mean, you then have to upgrade your chips, and there's a whole entire cycle of spend and ramp up period which is involved. So this is where our redefined processor, which is reconfigurable in software, instead of taping out or making or fabricating a separate new chip and designing a separate chip, which takes about 30 months and about $50 million. All we need to now do is update our software, make an update in the software, and voila, our processor is ready for that new workload, which didn't exist before. So that's actually exactly what is the most differentiated for us, and we are one of the only global semiconductor companies who has this capability at this point in time.
All right. And with global demand for data centers and AI compute soaring, how soon can we expect Redefine to hit commercial deployment?
Yeah, so this is where the patience needed for semiconductor deep tech ecosystem comes in. We have taken fantastic, great steps thanks to the Indian Semiconductor Mission and the venture capital ecosystem support that has followed. But just like if you notice the journey on in the Silicon Valley in US, in Europe, or in China more recently, the time from first silicon to actually it becoming a mature solution which can compete on scale with global multinational incumbents, it's a period of 2 to 5 years. It could take anywhere between that. Unlikely it will happen before 2. We hope it will happen in 3. But formally we have seen a lot of folks, even from NVIDIA to other recent successes, have taken at least 5 years to kind of become mature.
So it does take a little bit of time for the company to, hit maturity. But if you could sort of then explain to us, you are in talks with clients and stuff. So who are the kind of clients that you are in talks with to sort of deploy, your chip? And when will we sort of see the first pilot projects?
So I think for us in our semiconductor line of work, we typically have this ability to prototype our processor. We don't have to wait until actual physical chip comes along. We can actually start testing out customer workloads even before the chip comes. Now, to add to the problem or the pain for us is that we are reconfigurable. So we have a wide variety of applications or demos to choose from. The choice for Morphing Machines, along with my founders, Professor Nandi and Dr. Anjani, has been we focus on very narrow niche areas where today no compute options exist. There are areas like BFSI regulated markets where there's a lot of demand for encrypted privacy, so some very advanced computation workloads is what we are targeting first in the data centers. Within that, we're targeting the BFSI market because it's highly regulated, and there are we have gotten an early traction with potential BFSI folks.
So early traction in the BFSI space is where you're looking and pushing hard at. But, there was the other thing that you mentioned as well, India's semiconductor mission, right? So like you said, India is pushing hard on the semiconductor front. How do you see Morphing Machines contributing to the country's deep tech and chip ecosystem?
Yeah, so with Morphing Machines, we have taken up the challenge of building a innovative infrastructure ground up, right? I mean, it's a completely new architecture, microarchitecture built from scratch. And that gives us a lot of differentiation. But eventually, we envision that, over the next 5 to 10 years, over a decade's time, Morphing Machines Redefined will actually find its way into a host of diverse domains, right? We hope that our next telecom stack, when we transition over to 6G in 2030, it is powered by Morphing Machines' primary redefined chip. Also, a lot of the ADAS vehicles, which are today really taking off, both in EV and the non-EV space, approximately 60 processors exist in these high-end vehicles, and we hope that these will again be replaced or catered to by Indian semiconductor companies, and we are aiming to target that as well. Additionally, all data-sensitive privacy things, right from defense data to BFSI data and medical data, all of this we anticipate will be catered to by Morphing Machines variants, which will be specialized towards preserving privacy while enabling machine learning as well.
All right. And, you've mentioned that this chip can adapt to different workloads, right? If you could sort of explain how, software-defined hardware works in practice.
Yeah, so fantastic. I think you picked the right word, right? Software-defined hardware. So the typical challenge is that, if you use software to kind of, reconfigure, there are a little bit of overheads and performance hits and power hits that you take. The fundamental innovation of our architecture is, stems from the work of our founder, Dr. Anjani. And specifically, we do compute in a way which allows us not to trade off that power and performance, while at the same time giving you the flexibility. There's about a 5% trade-off in the entire thing, but what it allows you to do is cater to any given workload tomorrow. So in principle, without perhaps complicating it too much, we are able to almost paint an image of any application you give us onto our hardware, which allows us then to kind of run it as if it were a custom hardware, which was created over 30 months with an expenditure of 50 million, right? So we essentially have gotten I'm being a little bit reductionist here, but overall it is about painting an image of a given application or an algorithm onto our hardware. And that's what we have kind of figured out. That's our secret sauce.
That's your secret sauce. But, if you could sort of tell us what were some of the challenges that you faced when it comes to, manufacturing semiconductors within the country?
So I think manufacturing or fabrication, as we call it, is a fairly capex heavy and a volume led business. Until you have substantial volumes from the local domestic companies to sustain a foundry or fabrication business, it can never run profitably. That's the reason why TSMC is like the global manufacturer in terms of the foundry. But speaking of challenges, I think the primary challenges, I think India has sufficient hardware design. I mean, it's known as the design center for the world in semiconductors because we have a lot of good hardware talent. Where I think we are lagging specifically is in complex software areas like compilers. I think there's a sore gap there. And in order to kind of drive innovation in the semiconductors, right from the design to the architecture to the product, and then finally to the fabrication, I think compilers and perhaps certain advanced packaging abilities are what need to kind of be targeted next.
Sure. And some of the targets that you've set for Morphing Machines is that over the course of time, you also plan to sort of enter global markets like the US and Europe, right? So how soon will we see that happen, once the pilot projects and all of that start? So give us a 1-year target for Morphing Machines.
Yeah, so I think, for some fabulous semiconductors, you may have to increase that to 2 years. But over the next year, we have a test ship out. We essentially, prove our product market fit, saying that, hey, all our features, our reconfigurability, our low power, our very high performance characteristics are all captured and proven. And on the back of that, then we decide, okay, which is our beachhead market? And in our case, as I said, we're looking at regulated industries and privacy preserving machine learning. So these areas are the ones we will actively try to scale up in year 2, wherein we actually build up our order book and build up a sizable customer funnel, whom then we drive through our entire process. And after we conquer one vertical, then we actually move on to another associated vertical like an ADAS or telecom. But that's years 3 to 5.
All right. So that's a 3 to 5 year target that you've given us. All right, Deepak, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Moving on, as software becomes central to every business, companies are under pressure to deliver updates faster and keep their code secure. JFrog, known for its DevOps and software supply chain platform, sits at the intersection of these two priorities, helping organizations manage how software is built, stored, and released. In this interview with CNBC-TV18's Ritu Singh, JFrog CEO and co-founder Shlomi Ben-Haim speaks about the company's growing engagement with India, both as a base for talent and innovation, and as a key customer market, and what the company's strategy looks like as AI begins to reshape software development. Take a look.
Welcome to India. Let me start by asking you what brings you here this time around.
Well, Ritu, first, it's great being here again. And the first thing that brings me into India is my team. Every time that I'm meeting the team, it's bigger.
Yeah.
And we are very excited about the development of the team here as part of JFrog overall business.
Agentic AI, I mean, for the last couple of years, that's all we've been hearing when we talk about the software industry. What kind of changes has that brought about for how you conduct your business, the kind of risks and opportunities you think it presents, and the kind of partnerships you've had to forge to tackle this new Gen AI era?
JFrog is a software company that helps the biggest organizations in the world deliver software faster and more securely.
Yes.
Think about it as a logistic company that has to move physical goods from the factories to the store. JFrog is doing the same thing with digital goods from the creator, from the software developers to the user.
Yeah.
So you touch something that everyone in the world is impacted by, right? Gen AI, agentic AI. And I know that like every CEO that you will meet will have to say 5 times AI in a sentence, right? But what is it that is being changed? Our experience as human beings is being changed and being powered by machines. So is software development. It's not only the developer that write code anymore, it's also the machine that contribute code as well.
Yeah.
JFrog helps not only secure, but also to make sure that software is being delivered faster, whether it was created by machine or by human being, without interrupting everything that runs in the background.
Let's talk about India since you're here on your visit here. And you're coming at a time when global technology companies are expanding their R&D centers here, their customer acquisition here. How important or how critical is the market for JFrog here, whether that is innovation, talent hub, or overall from a business point of view?
So we started long ago in India as a place that we got into, especially Bangalore, as a result of an acquisition. Yes. The first company we acquired was headquartered in Seattle with the team in India, in Bangalore. Second company that we acquired was, from whatever reason, headquartered in Seattle, and the team was based in India. So from the get-go, the first frogs that joined JFrog in India were a result of an M&A activity and inorganic growth of the business. And then we doubled the team every year since then. And what we started to see is that it's not only a team of R&D or a team of extension of our R&D and support services, it's everything, including sales, including operation, including finance, and everything in our company is also extended to India.
What is the kind of strength you have in India at the moment, employee strength? And what are the plans to increase hiring, if at all?
Well, obviously, the immediate suspects are developers and engineers. Yeah. And India, and more specifically Bangalore, have an amazing pool of talents in this area. Some of them are coming from the biggest software companies working here, and some of them are educated in the university and looking for the first chance in a high-tech company. This is the first kind of audience that we attract. I think that the second group of talents are business people, marketing, sales.
If you just take a step back and give us a more macro view of what's going on around us. I mean, globally, we're seeing companies tighten their IT budgets. What are you seeing on ground here, globally as well as in India? What are your clients telling you in terms of their spend outlook for the coming year?
There is, this is an amazing question because there are some trends that coming from the macro market and the very high level changes that we see, even geopolitical and macroeconomic. Yeah. And they are digging all the way down to the daily task of the CIO and the chief information security of the company. Yeah. And what we see as a trend is, number one, they all want to have a better predictability of their cost. Everybody understands that we are off or trying to get off a very deep macroeconomic crisis of few years. Yeah. They are still trying to figure out how their business is working post-COVID. And there are a lot of geopolitical changes in the world. So with that, what they are looking for is, first of all, predictability. The second thing is that they are looking to consolidate tools. So if 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you were a best-of-breed point solution in the world of software, you would be considered as a very kind of innovative approach to be adopted. Yeah. JFrog started as a best-of-breed solution. Yeah. But slowly the market moved to platforms because the amount of tools that developers are now bringing to their territories, whether you are a bank or a car manufacturing or a retail company, the amount of software tools that are being brought is just overwhelming, so they are looking to consolidate.
Finally, Shmi, you've been serving large enterprises in India for a while, and you have a whole host of them, hundreds of customers here in India. But recently, what we've been hearing from JFrog is the shift towards smaller and medium enterprises as well, the SMB segment. Give us a sense of, why this shift, why now, and the kind of opportunity this new segment presents for a company like JFrog in India.
Most of our customers are enterprise customers. Actually, the top 10 on every vertical is a JFrog customer. So we are very honored and pleased to have that in our portfolio. But what happened now? Every group of developers, even if it's a 50 people company, become 1,000 times faster and more powerful. And what you see in India is that there is a lot of innovation happening in this country. Yeah. because of the amount of engineers you have here. Now, if yesterday you needed a big enterprise and a big enterprise resources to be behind you, now with the power of AI, you can move much faster. You see AI companies that were established 2 years ago already crossed the $100 million in ARR.
Yeah.
And you see companies that were just established running faster than ever before. People are speaking about going public in these days in NASDAQ in the range of $400 million, and they are getting there in 2 years or 3 years. So we assume that the amount of innovation, the amount of talents here will also bring opportunities. And this opportunity is not necessarily going after enterprise solution, but lighter, small and medium
more agile businesses as well.
Agile solutions.
On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, Bengaluru-based startup Airbound is aiming to revolutionize civilian use of drone technology. With deliveries already underway, the company is now setting its sights on scaling operations and expanding its logistics footprint across India. Stay tuned for that and more. Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. Airbound, a Bengaluru-based startup, wants to expand the use cases of drone technology for civilian life, and it's starting with deliveries. CNBC-TV18's Meghna Sen reports that with a fresh round of funding under its belt, Airbound is not just looking at cutting delivery costs, but scaling its business and its footprint rapidly as it redefines logistics in India. Take a look.
Imagine getting your package delivered not by a biker, but by a drone flying straight to your neighborhood or doorstep. And that's what exactly most Indian startups are working on. And Airbound is one of them. And this 42,000 square foot facility, which I'm about to enter, is where the magic happens. This is Airbound's next generation drone. It boasts a blended wing body, meaning the wings and fuselage are merged into a single aerodynamic structure which offers fuel efficiency and space, and a tail-seated design which allows it to take off like a rocket and then reorient to fly like a plane. The startup says these drones will make deliveries up to 20 times cheaper than current methods. Armed with the $8.65 million it has raised in seed funding, Airbound is now raring to scale up manufacturing and production and make a nice project into a large-scale real-world operation.
These drones look really nice, they fly really well, but that's, it's just a nice project right now. You need to scale these up, we need to ramp up production, we need to ramp up reliability and flights to get to a point where these systems have impact. And what we really want to show is the first layer of this hypothesis working. That now that these drones are entering in the market, we're seeing very fast pickup with customers. People are really excited about this because the things that we can enable is something that the world has just been waiting for.
Easier said than done. Naman acknowledges that drone technology is a capital-intensive sector requiring deep R&D and patience, but he's confident his team will manage future funding. For this, he's banking on the growing maturity of the venture capital ecosystem in India and the tech Airbound is developing.
And I think it is a fairly tricky environment. What helps a lot is I think the ecosystem has developed an incredible amount in the past 5 to 10 years, where now you're starting to see a lot of venture capital firms take deep tech more seriously, realize that, hey, even though these companies don't have meaningful amounts of, let's say, revenue or customer validation, there is a tremendous amount of potential in what they're building, right? I think I see this as the next evolution of venture capital, where initially investors were just looking at profits. Then they start looking at revenue because revenue is a good indicator of profits, right? And sort of as you grow, then it becomes that your growth rate actually impacts revenue and all of these, profit factors. I think the next layer to that, the next derivative is innovation. Because if you innovate, you can command a very high growth rate, which can lead to all of these other things.
Building scale with cutting-edge tech is not as easy as it sounds. One of Airbound's biggest technological challenges is scaling carbon fiber manufacturing, the lightweight material it uses in its drones, and that's one big challenge area.
Carbon fiber is not a material that people know how to manufacture at scale. It's generally been I would describe carbon fiber manufacturing as so far more of an art than a science, right? It's a skill that you have to get really good at. And as you scale things up, that doesn't work. You cannot scale up art. You cannot hire 1,000 artists to make something great because you need reliability, you need consistency. And so it comes down to how we're innovating on process so that we can automate a lot of these layers and enable us to, make these crazy carbon fiber parts at scale.
But Naman is optimistic, not only in building scale but in redefining logistics in India. He says his tech will be able to bring down the cost of a delivery from 24 rupees currently to below 5 rupees by 2026. He also has set his team a target of 1 million deliveries per day by mid-2027. This means he wants to ramp up manufacturing capacity from 1 drone per day to over 100 drones a day, and that's what this young team in Bangalore is working on in mission mode. Let's leave them to it. In Bangalore, Meghna Sen.
With that, it is a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.